busy street. Wherever there's a turning wheel, a million monkeys.
It's June 1940. The scene is the Cabinet War Room in Whitehall. The evacuation of the British Expeditionary Force, the BEF, has been accomplished. Present around the table are Lord Halifax, former PM Neville Chamberlain, Clement Attlee and Arthur Greenwood. Churchill enters and the Cabinet rise as one to applaud him.
Here's the man. Congratulations, Prime Minister. I must confess I had my doubts, but I'm happy to have them disproved.
Indeed, Winston, you have brought about one of the greatest achievements in British military history. You are to be highly commended.
Thank you, gentlemen. Please sit down. Before we all get carried away, let us not forget that wars are not won by withdrawals. However, there is no doubt that the rescue of the BEF will go down in the annals of naval escapades, hopefully to rank with those of Lord Nelson himself.
What are the precise evacuation figures, Prime Minister?
To my knowledge, Mr. Attlee, the current figure stands at 224,000 British and 111,000 French and Polish, which, to be perfectly frank with you, gentlemen, far exceeds my highest expectations. I had feared we would be forced to abandon at least half of our army in Dunkirk. It is to the eternal credit of our navy, the RAF, and the heroic efforts of the little boats that this miraculous endeavour was accomplished. Well done.
Well, it will certainly bolster our home defence units.
And let us not also forget, although we have our troops home, that most of their equipment has been left behind in France. We're still in an extremely weak position. I would strongly urge the Cabinet to request Signor Mussolini to act as an intermediary on our behalf. It's vital that we still seek the best possible terms while we still have some cards in our hand.
My dear Halifax, I would not trust Mussolini if he were the last man on earth.
Arthur is right. Our faith would indeed be misplaced in one such as he. He is quarried from the same stone as the little corporal. There is no doubt that we shall shortly face the full force of the enemy, and we must do everything we can to prepare for that grim inevitability.
But surely, Winston, you're not intending to fight on.
Of course. What option is left to us?
With respect, Prime Minister, that is utter madness. We'll be totally overwhelmed by the Nazis' superior numbers. We'll suffer the same fate as France, Belgium, the Netherlands. We must seek a compromise.
There can be no question of compromise. Do you think Herr Hitler is a man of his word? Look at the devastation he has wreaked across Europe. You cannot negotiate with a python when you are wrapped in its coils.
The Prime Minister is right. We must continue the fight from within our island fortress.
Fine words. But with what are we expected to fight? Sticks and stones?
If needs be, yes. This is an enemy like no other that we are facing. His dark heart and inhumanity plumb new depths of depravity. He will not be satisfied until he has expunged all that is decent and good in our island. Therefore we must resist him no matter what devilish instruments he uses against us. Come.
Sorry to interrupt, sir, but we have an urgent communique.
Well, it would seem we have another admirer who wishes to congratulate us on our successful evacuation of the BEF.
And who is that, Prime Minister?
Herr Hitler himself.
What?
I can't believe it.
That is preposterous.
That may well be, Neville, But Hitler has requested a meeting via the French ambassador.
But surely you're not going to agree to meet him, are you, Winston?
Well, he is certainly not my first choice for a dinner companion, but I think we should hear what he has to say.
Prime Minister, it is my duty as a member of the War Cabinet to advise you that you may be walking into a trap. You have already spoken most eloquently about the nature of the foe we are facing.
Indeed, and I thank you for your concern, Mr. Attlee.
I must concur with Halifax, Winston. Such a meeting would be fraught with danger. How could your safety be guaranteed?
The proposed meeting will take place on neutral soil, Switzerland to be precise, in a hotel on Lake Geneva. I do believe the change of air would do us good. Is that not so, gentlemen?
Us? You're not proposing that we all go, Winston?
Perhaps one or two of us should stay behind to man the fort, as it were. Neville, Mr. Attlee, I would be most obliged if you would do me the honour.
Of course, Prime Minister.
As you wish, Prime Minister.
Well, gentlemen, I suggest we all go and pack our bathing trunks and brush up on our German.
Shall indeed.
Halifax, may I have a word?
Yes.
So the bulldog is about to meet the wolf. It would be a brave man who dared to predict the outcome of such a contest.
Well, I would certainly be tempted to wager that Winston's eloquence and verbosity will be as much a source of irritation to Herr Hitler as it is to some of the members of the House.
Halifax, I would be most grateful if you would attempt to keep the bulldog on a short leash. They do tend to bite if not closely supervised.
I'll do my best, Neville. I will do my best.
The scene is a hotel on the shores of Lake Geneva. France will soon fall. The battle for Britain is yet to begin. Churchill and Hitler enter the room via opposite doors, as neither would agree to be kept waiting by the other. A member of the Swiss government is present to chair the meeting. They speak through interpreters.
Herr Churchill, I trust I find you in good health.
My health is neither here nor there, Herr Hitler. It is the health of my country which is of concern to me.
Of course, which is obviously the point of our meeting today. You are like me, Herr Churchill, a man who comes straight to the point.
Herr Hitler, let us get one thing straight. We have nothing in common whatsoever.
I think you'll find we have very much in common. You are a man of the people, as am I. You believe destiny has placed you in power at this critical juncture in history, as I believe Providence has chosen me to lead the German folk out of the darkness. You have your empire, and I have mine. Minuscule in comparison, I will admit, but growing all the time. So, just like you, I will come straight to the point. It is obvious that Britain will fall and be subsumed into the greater German Reich. So, why shed further blood on both sides when the outcome is inevitable? You and I have been here before, haven't we? Only 20 years have passed and we find ourselves here again. Only this time, how do you Englanders say it? The boot is on the other foot, yeah? If you love your country, then accept our terms of surrender.
It is precisely because I love my country that I have no intention of surrendering. I think you underestimate the resolve of the British people.
And you underestimate the might of the German war machine, Herr Churchill. We have lain dormant for too long. Our period of humiliation is at an end. We are rising like the phoenix from the ashes. All who resist the might of Germany will be crushed.
Fine words, Hitler, but I would suggest you have neither the air support that you claim nor the strategic competence to carry out an invasion.
Then you will feel the full might of Nazi Germany, just as Poland has, just as the Netherlands has, just as Denmark and Norway have, just as the complacent French have. And now all that protects Britain is a narrow strip of water. It will not stop us for long, Herr Churchill. Wir kommen. Wir kommen. Wir kommen.
I agreed to meet you, Herr Hitler, for a civilized conversation, not to listen to your party political broadcasts. Save them for your lackeys in Nuremberg.
You, Herr Churchill, are impossible.
And you, Herr Hitler, are inhuman. We are hearing already intelligence reports of atrocities committed by your SS units in every country you have ravaged. Your Nazi creed is a threat to everything the civilized world holds dear.
Herr Churchill, a cake cannot be made without breaking the eggs. You are not without experience in the art of warfare yourself. You were not on holiday in Africa in your youth. You were reporting on the exploits of your brave British soldiers against a bunch of farmers, rounding up women and children and placing them in camps. So bitter, do not lecture me on the conduct of my troops. The arrogance of the British. Your empire was founded on blood, as all empires are. Roman, Persian, Macedonian, Napoleonic. It is a natural state of affairs. There is always a divine purity of purpose in pursuing a nation's true destiny.
Naturally, you would willingly corrupt the civilizing influence of the British Empire and its achievements for your nefarious ends. But there is no doubt that where we have engaged with the native people, they have benefited greatly from the encounter. You and your regime, by contrast, have left nothing but devastation in its wake.
Not devastation, Herr Churchill. A cleansing, a purifying. One must burn the stubble after the harvest to enable a new crop to grow, stronger than the previous years. In order for the crop to flourish, one must destroy the weeds. This is the true essence of National Socialism, a vehicle to ensure the triumph of the Aryan race, and thus the German folk.
Couch it in whatever metaphor you choose, Herr Hitler. What you are referring to is commonly known as eugenics.
And what is wrong in a people seeking to improve its physical strength and intellectual prowess? I am merely giving nature a helping hand.
The world does not look kindly on those who would play God, Herr Hitler.
Both you and I know the world is full of gullible fools and weak-willed politicians. The former will believe anything they are told if it is repeated often enough, and the latter will do as they are told if they wish to keep their wives and mistresses in the luxury they become accustomed to.
I believe the people should be told the truth about the situation our country finds itself in, and I am fully aware of how grave that situation is. You, on the other hand, only seek to deceive your people about their destiny. You promise them a 1,000-year empire, which you must know is a hopeless fantasy. I tell the people there is only blood, sweat, toil and tears awaiting them.
Cast your eyes across Europe, Herr Churchill. Not a fantasy, but a fantastic achievement, no? Just a few short months of war, and I am standing on the cliffs of France, gazing across the water at the next glittering prize, just as Julius Caesar must have done. And my conquest is just as inevitable as his.
I should take care when comparing yourself to Caesar, Herr Hitler. If memory serves, I believe he came to a rather sticky end, and at the hands of his own followers.
Ah, I am well aware of that. You are not the only one who has studied history, Herr Churchill. But I intend to write history as well.
That may well be, but history does not allow us to write our own endings. Who knows what fate may have in store for each of us?
I may not be able to predict my own ending, Herr Churchill, but it is somewhat easier to predict the fate of your country. We are superior in numbers of aircraft, both fighters and bombers. We have more tanks and heavy machine guns, whereas the streets and beaches of Dunkirk are littered with your army's equipment. Wars are never won by retreating, Herr Churchill.
I have on occasion said the same myself, Herr Hitler, but on reflection they can lead to a regrouping, a recharging of purpose. One battle may be over, but not the war.
Maybe you are thinking your friends the Americans will come to save you. Why would they bother? I am no threat to them. They have their own interests in the Pacific to pursue. No, Herr Churchill, they will not ride like the cavalry to your rescue. You truly do stand alone. So, it is time to be reasonable, face reality, and come to an agreement that is beneficial to both our countries, just as the French are about to do.
I am certain the Americans have looked upon your works and listened to your speeches with the same horror as I have. It is not a question of if they come, but when. And at that moment, Herr Hitler, you will reap the full harvest from the seeds you have sown. But the bread may not be to your liking.
Ah, but time is a commodity you have precious little of, Herr Churchill. The suns are pouring through the hourglass. The clock of destiny is ticking. And when the hour of fate strikes, so do I.
And we shall resist you with every fibre of our being. Your troops may well reach our shores, but they will also be their final resting place.
Gentlemen, may I suggest we take a break in the proceedings to allow us to recover our composure? Shall we resume at 11 o'clock tomorrow?
Very well, although I believe my composure does not require a period of recovery. I consider it to be in very good health.
In another room in the hotel, Halifax and Greenwood are awaiting the outcome of Churchill's meeting. Churchill bursts through the door in a highly agitated state.
Prime Minister, we were not expecting you back so soon. Should we take this as an ill omen?
Halifax, there is a limit to how much time I wish to spend in the company of such a man. He struts like a cockerel and crows loudly, but he is too full of his own self-importance to notice that he is quarrying from the top of a dunghill.
And the name of that dunghill is the Nazi Party.
Precisely, my dear fellow. May I prevail upon you to pour me a whisky? A large one.
Of course, Prime Minister.
Gentlemen, you are most welcome to join me.
Too early in the day for me, Prime Minister.
Oh, I think I can manage a wee dram. I take it your conversation with Herr Hitler bore little fruit, Prime Minister.
The only fruit he wishes us to partake of has a bitter taste of defeat, and you can be certain that within this rotten fruit he offers us, the maggots of his conditions lurk.
Did he state what his conditions are?
Not in so many words. He preferred to hold forth on his dark achievements, but you can be certain it would mean the seizure of the British fleet, and I, for one, would rather see it scuttled in Scapa Flow and to see the swastika flutter from their mastheads. He also had the audacity to speak of an empire to match ours.
Well, if the price of retaining some of our empire is for Hitler to build one of his own, then I would suggest it is a price worth paying.
My dear fellow, we have all observed Herr Hitler's modus operandi. He makes agreements, he breaks them, and he takes what he wants. Even if we accede to his demands, we know it will not end there. His appetite for conquest will never be sated.
What is our next move, Prime Minister?
I shall resume talks with Herr Hitler tomorrow. I do not expect him to be singing a different tune, so we must look ahead to the defence of our island.
I fear I must raise the same point that I did in London, Prime Minister. How do we resist an enemy greater in number than ourselves? An enemy better equipped in every department?
With fortitude, with courage, and with the same savagery as he will certainly turn on us.
Again, Prime Minister, with respect, I return to my previous point. Much of our heavy armour and weaponry lie in the streets and on the beaches of Dunkirk.
Then we shall produce more. Let the factories and steel mills thunder day and night. Our forebears did not shirk from the fight, and neither shall we. The Nazis may well have sown the seeds of the winds of war, but they shall surely reap the whirlwind.
The talks resume at 11 o'clock the following day.
So, we begin again, Herr Churchill. I will, once again, appeal to your reason. We are both men of the world, men who have experienced conflict before. I in the trenches of Belgium and you on the plains of the African continent. I believe you were taken prisoner on one occasion and escaped. I salute your courage and audacity. Are we not alike, you and I? Were we not shaped by events beyond our control? Did we not despair at the actions of those in command who held our fate in their hands? And now I hold the fate of Britain in my hands, and I appeal to you, as one old soldier to another. Let us be reasonable. Let us compromise. Let us find a solution to our differences.
You are correct in one thing. I did indeed serve my country in Africa and was taken prisoner, and yes, I did escape. And I tell you now, I have no intention of becoming a prisoner again, especially in my own country.
There's no question of you becoming a prisoner in your Tower of London, Herr Churchill. Of course, you would still maintain your position as Prime Minister with all the privileges that entails. Your house in the country, your ministerial car, your country pursuits, your social gatherings. Life would continue pretty much as normal for you.
Except for the swastika fluttering in the breeze above Downing Street and Buckingham Palace. Your definition of normality and mine differ enormously, Herr Hitler.
A minor detail, surely. I speak of a certain amount of freedom for you and your family, and your talk is of flags.
And what of the freedom of the rest of the people?
As long as they serve the Reich, I have no desire to make their lives unnecessarily difficult. They will still be able to play their cricket and football, drink their warm beer in their pubs, tend their roses in their gardens. Of course, that decadent organ of propaganda, the BBC, will be subject to change. It is only right that your people should be enlightened by the uplifting message of National Socialism and how it can change their lives for the better.
You speak in code, Herr Hitler. Your uplifting message would be better described as propaganda. And what of the king and his family? What would their fate be?
Why not let the people decide if National Socialism is a force for good or not? As for the king and his family, I would have no objection if he wished to join his brother in exile, though the king may well have his own objections.
And install yourself in Buckingham Palace in his place, no doubt.
I harbour no ambition to be a king, Herr Churchill, although the king's brother still has ambitions to resume his duties after England's downfall, I believe. As you know, in Germany I am called Führer, or leader in your language. I find that title perfectly adequate for my purpose.
And what is your purpose, Herr Hitler?
To overcome the Bolshevik threat without and the Jewish threat within. Surely we can agree on that.
As I have said on a previous occasion, some like the Jews and some do not, but no thoughtful man can deny the fact that beyond all question they are the most formidable and the most remarkable race that has ever appeared in the world. As for the Bolsheviks, I believe they are vehemently repudiated by the great mass of the Jewish race.
Bolshevism is a Jewish conspiracy. Most of the communist leaders are Jews. Surely you can see that.
Herr Hitler, the Jews must be allowed to pursue their own destiny just as your people pursue theirs.
But the Jews within our midst would prevent the German folk from achieving its rightful ascension as the dominant force in Europe. Just as the ivy wraps itself around the roots and branches of a noble tree reaching for the sunlight, not contributing to a common cause, but multiplying and suffocating the indigenous growth so it can attain its own ends. They are not capable of symbiosis, only parasitism. And, like all parasites, they must be cut out and burnt so the host can prosper. As an Englishman with an extensive garden at Blenheim, I'm sure your head gardener would agree with me.
Except we are not talking of plants. We are talking of human beings, Herr Hitler.
Of which there's assuredly a hierarchy, Nine. You British have become wealthy transporting the black man from Africa to the Americas. You have subjugated the natives to do your bidding in India. Your contempt for Mr. Gandhi is well known. Tell me, Herr Churchill, how you can climb the steps to the pulpit from which you would lecture us on morality. Do not your feet stumble. Do not the words stick in your mouth. No, you possess that most unattractive character of the Englander, hypocrisy.
Herr Hitler, I speak from no pulpit. I am no preacher, but I do speak from the heart when I say I know the difference between good and evil, light and dark. Throughout history there has been the eternal struggle between opposing forces representing each side, and wherever the swastika flies, there is the battleground.
Herr Churchill, you are a learned man. I'm sure you can tell me the meaning of the swastika symbol.
Of course, it means conducive to well-being. I am sure the countries you have ravaged will take some comfort from that.
It is conducive to the well-being of the German folk. And furthermore, I am conducive to the well-being of the German folk. My will is their will. My destiny is their destiny, inextricably linked. If I succeed in my endeavours, then so does the folk.
And if you fail, then so must your people. And it will take a generation or more for them to have any hope of recovery.
Herr Churchill, if I were you, I would concentrate my mind on the fate of your people, not mine.
The fate of the British people is very much in the forefront of my mind, which is why I reject everything that you stand for. The lies, the propaganda, the violence, the abolition of democratic norms, the rigging of judicial process, the unprovoked aggression against nation states, and all these vile aspects of your regime would, without doubt, be rejected by the British people in their entirety. Consequently, as their Prime Minister, I am here to represent those qualities they hold so dear: tolerance, compassion, humanity, all of which are completely alien concepts to Nazism. I would be betraying everything we hold dear as a people if I were to concede to your demands.
And where have these values that they hold so dear got them? They are where they have always been, at the bottom of the ladder of society. Whilst your royalty and aristocracy grow fat on their ill-gotten gains, the labourer and factory worker struggle to feed their children.
You profess concern for the workers of Britain, Herr Hitler, yet it is your U-boat in the Atlantic that robs their children's bellies of food.
Any ally supplying another is a perfectly legitimate target, Herr Churchill, and you should be well acquainted with starving children from your time in Africa.
The Boers chose to lie in a bed of their own making by choosing to pursue independence. Therefore, they were only suffering the consequence of their own actions.
As you will suffer yours if you do not see reason. France will soon fall. Herr Mussolini has seen which way the wind is blowing and has joined his forces with ours. Public opinion in America prevents Roosevelt from taking his country to war. Your options are severely diminished day by day. This is the end game, Herr Churchill. Your knights, bishops, and castles have been swept from the board, and your king is in check. I am a man of limited patience, and it is time to accept the futility of your position.
While there are pieces on the board remaining, I shall never concede. The French had numerical advantage at Agincourt, and the Zulus at Rorke's Drift, Herr Hitler. Both believed that was enough. Both were proven wrong. So let the pieces fall where they may.
The talks end, and both men leave the room. Hitler enters another room where Hermann Göring, Commander-in-Chief of the Luftwaffe, and Joseph Goebbels, party Gauleiter of Berlin and propaganda minister, are waiting.
Heil Hitler! Has there been any progress, mein Führer?
Nein, the old fool remains as stubborn as ever.
Let's see how stubborn he remains when our bombers are reducing London to rubble.
I had hoped it would not come to that. We share some common ancestral roots with the Englanders, even if this fact has become an embarrassment to them, as it did some 20 years ago. Saxe Coburg Gotha becomes Windsor. Perhaps I should rename myself Smith when I arrive in London.
That is true, mein Führer, but they do not possess the purity of the Aryan race. They are a motley mix, a nation of mongrels, a result of being invaded over and over again. The Vikings, the Angles, the Jutes, the Romans, the Normans.
It would be quicker to list those races they haven't been invaded by.
And soon to be invaded again.
Churchill leaves us with no choice. Stubbornness can be a virtue, but his refusal to engage with reality can only be described as stupidity.
Yeah, just as the French believed their pathetic Maginot Line would save them, so the Englanders believes their channel will be a moat around their castle.
Churchill is hopelessly lost in the past. His dreams are of England's faded glories, Agincourt, the Spanish Armada, the charge of the Light Brigade.
Then he will awaken from his slumber to a living nightmare. The time for talking is over. Let us prepare for invasion and ultimate victory.
Jawohl, mein Führer!
Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil!
The House of Commons, June 4th, 1940. Churchill addresses Parliament.
Turning once again, and this time more generally, to the question of invasion, I would observe that there has never been a period in all these long centuries of which we boast when an absolute guarantee against invasion still less against serious raids, could have been given to our people. In the days of Napoleon, the same wind which would have carried his transport across the Channel might have driven away the blockading fleet. There was always the chance, and it is that chance which has excited and befooled the imaginations of many continental tyrants. Many are the tales that are told. We are assured that novel methods will be adopted, and when we see the originality of malice, the ingenuity of aggression, which our enemy displays, we may certainly prepare ourselves for every kind of novel stratagem, and every kind of brutal and treacherous manoeuvre. I think that no idea is so outlandish that it should not be considered and viewed with a searching, but at the same time, I hope, with a steady eye. We must never forget the solid assurances of sea power and those which belong to air power, if it can be locally exercised. I have, myself, full confidence that, if all do their duty, if nothing is neglected, and if the best arrangements are made, as they are being made, we shall prove ourselves once more able to defend our island home, to ride out the storm of war, and to outlive the menace of tyranny, if necessary for years, if necessary alone. At any rate, that is what we are going to try to do. That is the resolve of His Majesty's government, every man of them. That is the will of Parliament and the nation. The British Empire and the French Republic, linked together in their cause and in their need, will defend to the death their native soil, aiding each other like good comrades to the utmost of their strength. Even though large tracts of Europe and many old and famous states have fallen or may fall into the grip of the Gestapo and all the odious apparatus of Nazi rule, we shall not flag or fail. We shall go on to the end. We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. And even if, which I do not for a moment believe, this island or large part of it was subjugated and starving, then our empire beyond the seas, armed and guarded by the British fleet, would carry on the struggle until, in God's good time, the new world, with all its power and might, steps forth to the liberation of the old.